You may know that the Vikings beat Columbus to America, but did you know Columbus wasn't the second, but the third European to reach North America? You may have heard the 13th Amendment ended slavery, but did you know it is still legal and practiced in the United States? You may have a favorite dinosaur, but did you know none of these are dinosaurs? Learn the truth behind these and much more in my new book, Facts That Aren't True. Link in the description.
Landon Peterson, can I get your age and your religious affiliation?
It seems like you know who I am. Why do you need to know that?
Because I document every single person.
Oh, okay. I'll be 34 on Saturday, and I am not a member of a religion.
Planet, happy early birthday, but I have a genuine request. Can you step away from the mic a tiny bit?
Yeah, I had my gain turned all the way up. That's why it should be better now.
That is a religion. That's his religion.
Yeah, that's not true.
Yeah, his religion. Yeah, I know his religion is atheist. Calm down. Give it a second.
It's not a religion. There's no bureaucracy with the supernatural, and we don't believe in the supernatural. Religions do that. This is not a religion.
Chill, dog.
Well, then stop lying. It's dishonest to be a liar.
I'm not lying. Give me a second. You don't even know what my argument is to this. Before you're calling me a liar, you don't know if I could say something that could convince you. Let me finish.
I know the definitions of words. Your argument isn't going to prove anything.
Damn, you're already on it.
Let's just pause, reset, let Theo say what I'm trying to say.
He's puffed up and debating newbie Christians. So it's all good.
Yeah, it's good, Justin. Yeah. Let's just go. We're having a good cordial discussion.
But that's what I was going to.
And boom, we're good.
That's what I was about to. That's what I was about to do. Thank you, Covey, but I would like to do it on my own, establish my own little thing here. So Planet Peterson, right? One, you could just say that you're an atheist. It makes it simple, right? So to explain to you what I'm doing.
I did say that.
You didn't say that.
Never mind.
Exactly. See, you're ready to just contest me and interrupt before we even had a conversation. Stop, right? Chill out. Take a breath. Approach me like a rational adult.
I'm literally not even talking.
I know. But this is what I'm saying, right? And I'm gonna have to do this.
You can't spend 5 minutes telling somebody who isn't talking to chill.
Anywho,
did you say you had an argument?
With that being said, what I'm doing here is documenting different people's beliefs and seeing why they believe what they believe, because I think it actually does have a physical, tangible effect on the world. So, with this being said, I understand that you have your definition of religion, but there is no consistent sociological definition of religion. And what I have observed of the actions of atheists is that they act in a very same similar structured way to a religion without recognizing that they are. So I use a different definition, which is a set of criteria that makes up a religion, and atheism would be included into that. Yes. And it's more accurate.
So what's to stop me from just redefining what you believe in and then claiming that you actually aren't the member of a religion?
You can try.
What's stopping you? I mean, you could, but then you would have to apply it to you would have to apply it to everybody. It would have to apply to everybody. If I'm not a part of a religion, literally no one is.
The challenge.
I mean, then you just said
no, I would just claim that according to the way I define it, that's not the case.
You said you put
but I'm defining it I'm defining it by a set of objective criteria, right? I'm not defining it by my fifis. It's by criteria that I see that every single religion has, right? The common denominators, and guess what? Atheism, that grouping of people, have those common denominators along with all of that. So it more accurately describes. Thank you. That would be a better question. Like what? But it accurately describes atheism. Those common things would be an epistemological, ontological, metaphysical claim grounded in an axiological nature, right? So it has to be foundational to who the person is. It also has to have claims about how they know things. Has to have claims about the metaphysics. It also has to have claims about what makes stuff up, right? Like what stuff is. When you have all of those grouped together, right, and it's core to who you are, as in it cannot get any more reduced than that, then you have a religion, right? Like, for example, you cannot reduce anything further than God. It's called the God axiom. There's nothing that you can do past God, because God would be the foundation to all things. Just the same way to your not God would be the foundation to whatever you believe, so on and so forth. Just the same thing for Buddhism, Hinduism, everybody else, right? So it actually, like, you know, applies to everybody. I think it's fair and standard. That's how we do science, right?
That is not how anybody does science.
What? We don't try to find something that we don't try to see if a phenomenon applies in every single circumstance before we say it's a real thing.
No.
Dingo, get your
That's
guys, man.
not what you said.
That's
Although you
exactly what
said
I said.
quite a lot, so maybe that's the source of the confusion. But no, scientists don't go around probing other people's metaphysiological whatever axioms in order to do science. So that's what I thought you meant. I still don't even know what you mean by that's how we do science.
Also, the thing that you said about
Oh, okay, I see. You just didn't understand what I said, so you're gonna misrepresent me. That's fine. But that's
No,
a
you
total
spoke
straw
for
man,
about
'cause I didn't say
5
that.
minutes, and then you
Yeah,
said, and that's how we
those
do
5
science.
minutes, you didn't even,
So it's hard to
in
know
those 5
which
minutes,
of those
you didn't
things
retain
was the
4
thing that
sentences.
science is.
In
Well, the
5
problem
minutes, you
is
couldn't retain 4 sentences? That's crazy.
the problem is too that you said that science looks to test these things under every condition, and that's not correct. So we don't.
That's not.
The verification
We don't
principle
need
is
to
long
test-
neglected.
Yeah, unless you're saying that science has tested an issue under every conceivable condition, which is impossible, because how would we test it on the surface of a neutron star? So then you're saying that actually science doesn't know anything because it can't actually test a subject on every conceivable.
Well, that's why we accept the philosophy of decline, or it's Popper's, I think, maybe, that says that we accept the falsification principle.
What science is, unless you're just changing the definition again.
I'm not changing the definition of science, right? Because then, by your own roots, you don't know anything, and you cannot know anything. There's nothing that you can know. So whenever you say says literally your definition of
No, I
how
went off
you're
of your
using
definition.
science.
What's my
because we don't
definition that you
know.
somehow know?
I literally went
I
off
didn't
of your
even talk.
definition.
I'm not talking to you. Hold up. Facts and stats. Stop. Because now I'm talking to two different people, right? Planet Peterson, don't white knight for facts and stats. Facts and stats, don't white knight for Planet Peterson, right? I'm doing this because y'all seem to have the same side, but opposing arguments. I'm not saying that you're saying that, but if you want to, this is what facts and stats is saying and presenting in your defense to try and justify what you're saying. So unless you're going to back what he's saying, shush. Anywho,
What?
like
I wasn't
saying,
defending
facts and
him.
stats.
I was responding to what you were saying.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah, no kidding.
I know you was responding to what I was saying.
Okay, well then that
I
nullifies
wasn't
You just said
talking-
your whole
exactly.
tantrum
You
there.
just said exactly to a thing that's opposite of what you just said. So you're.
Dog, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this with you. I don't even know why you're up here. I'm going to drop you because you're annoying, right? Him
boy.
responding to me can be in your defense. Both of these statements can be true at the same time. They're not contradictory.
Yeah,
That's what I was.
it's not up to you to decide that, though.
It is though, right? It is.
No, you don't
Because this
speak
is-
for that person.
I
You don't know what their
I
intentions
don't.
were.
I do, because I've talked to facts and stats before. This is like Planet Peterson. You know what you're doing? You're going up to a psychologist and being like, hey, how dare you diagnose your patient with schizophrenia? You don't know what's going on in his head.
This is just the hubris. So what do you want to talk, or what questions do you have for me?
What hubris?
Unless you
You've
just
been the
don't
one-
want to talk to me.
Yeah, I do. I want to know
I've
why
barely
you chose
said
to-
anything, so nice
I want
try.
to know why you have said a lot though. I want to know why you choose not to believe in God. That's my answer. That's my
Nobody's
question.
ever given any remotely good evidence or arguments for it existing.
So why do you? Yeah, but that's subjective. So why are you choosing that? Why are you choosing them to not be good?
And
Why are
why
you saying they're not good?
remotely? That's why you qualify that with the word remotely.
You're asking me why did I choose to be unconvinced of the evidence and arguments that have been presented to me?
Yeah. Why'd you choose
Well,
that?
in a sense, I would say nobody chooses to be convinced of arguments or evidence.
Oh, you can't
But I
control
just
what you
personally
believe.
find them to be devoid of any substance or anything.
You can't control yourself.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
lack
can't
belief.
control myself.
I don't believe that.
Go
right?
ahead and don't believe in
Science of
God. He
evidence.
is risen. Go ahead and do
Because
that.
we have
Hold
we
up.
have higher standards of
No, you
evidence.
can't do that. That's what I
And-
thought.
Stop. What we're not going to do.
Risen,
no,
quit
Planet
white
Peterson.
knighting for the host.
Planet
no one's white
Peterson,
knighting
stop.
for the host.
4chan
I'm actually a
4chan
totally
atheists.
different question.
4chan atheists, stop talking because your mic is annoying. Planet Peterson, please, I confer with Dingo. I have my headphones in. Either back away from your mic or lower the volume on it. Please. Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. But you're like hitting the static and like I have my headphones in. It's in my ears. It hurts. I don't like it.
Wait, Theo, what do you mean by choose?
I gotcha.
What do you mean by choose?
Hold up, proposition. Give me a second. I'll introduce you and 4chan so that you guys can join in on the conversation. I don't mind, again, interruptions on the mic grid, but I don't want it to be blatant and overbearing, right? Also, give me some time to formulate a sentence, because if y'all rush me, that's when I go and I start ranting, right? So I can't do it in 1 or 2 minutes with it making sense with y'all ranting. So it's going to take some time. That's why I don't like the interruptions on major events. With that being said, proposition, can I get your age and your religious affiliation?
Yeah, I'm 25. I'm an atheist.
See, I love that. Look how easy that is. Makes life simple, right? 4chan, can I get your age and your religious affiliation?
35, and you should see at the end it says 4chan atheist.
Okay, you're an atheist. Hey man, you don't have to be so feisty, you know? Do you though? Be feisty. Anywho, what was your question, proposition? Sorry, can you restate it?
Oh, what do you mean by choose? We say we choose.
Okay.
Logically.
I say choose as in like you make a decision on, right? Like you make a conscious or sometimes unconscious decision on something. So like for example, you choose to eat a cake, right? You don't really choose hunger. That's just something that's happening to you. But you do choose to eat a cake.
Does this
You could eat
require?
spaghetti or anything else.
Okay. Does this require like some leeway freedom or like libertarian free will?
I have no idea.
Well, libertarian
those
feel
words are.
libertarian feel like it would lack the explanatory power, so you're not choosing anything really there.
Yeah, because if it's like if you're asking for like a compatibilist sense of my free choice, I'm just gonna reference my brain states and my environmental.
I think what he means by atheist choose is that we have, like us atheists, we have some propositions for that, like some like evidence presented in front of us, and we're choosing contrary to the evidence, which I disagree with fruition. Like through and through.
I mean, like, yeah, you're choosing contrary to the evidence. I choose to confirm the evidence, right? Like, I made that choice. I'm like, you know what? I accept this. This is true, right? That was a choice of mine. Because otherwise, you're saying that was not a choice either.
The
like,
main
this
contention
just happened
is
to me or somebody.
well,
Wait,
the
way I heard
contention.
proposition, it didn't sound like compatibilism. It sounded like determinism. The way he
Wait,
cashed it out. But
Justin, I think the main way that we want to discuss this
Compatibilism
is like
compatibilism is.
Hold up. Can Dingo
yeah, compatibilism does accommodate determinism with free will. Yeah, but I think the main issue here is like when we say an individual is choosing their belief, I think the entailment there is that we're kind of neglecting this idea that individuals are convinced of their belief. There's going to be some threshold that is subjective to the individual. You index it to them that convinces them of some certain proposition. They then change their propositional attitude, or they affirm some propositional attitude. The question then is, if it is a choice, are you then, Theo and Risen and all the atheists, or all the theists up there, and Justin, are you committed to the idea that there could be some evidence out there that commits you evidentially to this proposition God doesn't exist? And if it was presented to you, would you then say God doesn't exist? I would assume you'd say no.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
see,
it
but
would have to
then-
be
but
pretty
Dingo-
strong evidence. I
Yeah,
don't
sure,
have any
Dingo
empirical
also-
evidence that says that he
Yeah,
doesn't
so the
exist.
question is, so even if you were convinced
But-
of evidence,
hold
would you
up.
change your
But
belief,
this
or
is
could
the
you
thing.
choose to still believe in God? Because if it's a choice, then it wouldn't matter if I surpassed your threshold of being convinced.
I'm just using the atheist
Yeah.
argument. Like, I
I'm
need to
talking
have
about
what- I'm
a
talking about what it
threshold
means-
that is
Or
overcome
negative.
by evidence.
Can you be convinced of propositions, Risen? Can I convince
Can you present evidence that God doesn't exist? And let's
But-
test it
I
out.
can,
But
I can
negative.
give you arguments that your God doesn't exist, but that's completely peripheral. The question is there specific like things that you can be? Can you be convinced of things you don't previously believe, and then you believe them because you're convinced of some proposition? Is that fine? You agree with that?
It's
Okay, that's true. So there's a proposition God exists, and can I convince you to hold a negative attitude towards it based on surpassing that threshold of evidence? Is that possible?
In a synthetic way, yes.
I don't know what it means to be in an analytic way. I don't know how you can analytically. Okay, sorry. Just
Meaning-
sure. It would be
meaning
purely
in-
your proposition. If your attitude held towards proposition is going to purely be
Meaning in your hypothetical,
synthetic, 'cause
yes,
it's not,
but in the
your
real
belief
world,
in it is not
in the-
contained in the definitions. I don't know what it means to be analytic. but
yeah,
it's
in the
just
real
surely-
world, no. In your hypothetical analogy,
in the
or
real
story,
world, no.
yes.
So you're saying there is no evidence in this world that surpasses? Okay. Anyways, okay, that's fine. I'm
Yeah, you
I'm
said
purely
it.
speaking. I'm
I'm
purely
glad you
speaking
got
modally.
it.
I'm purely speaking modally. Let's say there is some evidence
In
that
any
surpasses your
possible world,
threshold.
can unicorns exist? Yes.
Yeah, so it surpasses your. I'm saying there's a threshold which I can convince you is a modally possible world that God doesn't exist. Therefore, analytically entailed, you don't believe God exists, right? In that world.
In that world, yeah.
So can you then, in that world, choose to believe God exists?
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
can
People
then-
choose
you-
to believe things that
you
they're
can-
not
wait,
convinced of
you-
all the time.
You
Like, for
can
example,
be. Wait.
some
You can
people are-
definitionally.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Maybe you'll get it. If you have evidence that your wife is cheating on you, you can choose to believe it or not. She can be like, "But baby, it wasn't me. It was some other person." You're like, "No, I have you
Then I'm
on
not
camera.
convinced.
I hear your
Okay.
voice. I know it's you." And you're like, "You know what? I just choose not to believe that."
Evidently,
You
if I
can
don't believe
choose
it,
what you believe.
there's the
Even
entailment
when
there. If I don't
the-
believe it, I'm not convinced of it. That is the analytical entailment.
No, you
If
can
I'm
still.
not convinced of it, I don't believe it. If I'm not, I don't
No,
believe it.
you
I'm
can
not
be
convinced of it.
convinced that it's happening, but choose not to believe it.
If I'm not convinced of it, I don't believe it. That is
I have no
analytical
idea.
entailment.
Yeah.
I don't know what it
Yeah,
means
you
to
can
say I'm
convince that
convinced.
this is
I don't know.
true.
Yeah, this
I-
doesn't-
I've-
for
this doesn't make any sense.
You have truth, and then you have belief, right? So to believe something is true, first you have to believe it, right? But
Wait, Riz,
truth
you
can be
define convinced?
truth can
Incorrect.
be-
Highly incorrect.
Hold
Oh
up,
my
but
God.
like this is the thing that I'm trying to say though. Hold up, because it's like a bunch of y'all just jumping. It's supposed to be just
Incorrect.
Resident Dingo. Incorrect. Anywho, anywho,
Well, I choose not to believe
with
that.
to
I
add
know you
on,
do.
to add on,
That-
right?
that proves my point.
Yes, we know we understand that you choose to believe, right? Because if you're saying that people don't choose to believe something, right? They have no choice in this. This is just some natural consequence of either their environment or themselves. Then that means that beliefs in and of themselves are like no belief is actually true. You cannot come to truth at all, right? Because every
not?
belief would be a result. Because every belief would be a result of the environment and irrationality, right?
Welcome
there would
to
be
Hegel.
no belief that could be true. There could
Well,
not
let
be
me
a
ask
true
you
belief.
this.
That's
You
literally
have truth.
false.
Do you believe
No,
there are
because
still-
everybody would be right,
Theo,
right?
Theo, let
Because
me ask you a
everybody
question.
is experiencing a different thing.
If truth
Do you believe
exists,
there are,
then
like-
there would be some people that are aware of some truth propositions and some people that reject
yeah,
some
exactly.
truth propositions.
Okay.
People would know
I knew you were going to say
what's
proposition.
true.
Okay, but do I have to accept the truth?
No, you can live in
You
fantasy
don't.
land.
No, I don't have to accept the truth, right? I can choose to be Delulu, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
You
I
also
can
don't choose to
so
choose what you believe
ready?
in.
You ready though? Right?
Because
right?
you'd have to want to choose to believe in something.
I would
and
hope,
you don't
like,
meta
in-
do that.
I would hope in like.
What do
good
you mean
faith,
want to
you-
want? Just
you would
to,
want
if I want to want something, that just means I want something, right? Like I want to
No.
want something. That don't make
No.
sense.
I
Because then
was
now we're
gonna-
just
No,
going
because
ad infinitum.
Bro, you could reject.
I can
anything
explain
that
this to you
want
if you would
or
like.
not.
Yeah, so
No.
I would like for you to explain it to me, or rather, Rizzo, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I would say no, because I mean you are literally rejecting the proof that you have of God right now. Like you can be convinced of anything.
I don't have any proof
and then
of
just
God.
reject
Yeah.
it. You just be like, nope, I don't want to. Like for
Do you have
example, you can
empirical,
ask me,
objective, verifiable, observable,
do you
testable
have
evidence, and no
empirical,
arguments?
objectable, verifiable evidence that God does not exist? Then shut your
Wait.
trap, dude.
Objectively
Yes.
Yeah, the
verifiable,
Bible proves that your
observable.
God
Go down
doesn't
this
exist.
list that this,
Oh my
this dogmatic
It's
list
actually
that
really
you,
easy.
he
The
does his
dog
list all the
fight.
time, man. He
The
does. He
dog
did some
fight.
paradox
He
live. He's
prompted
an
a
objectable,
very-
Wait,
empirical,
Reason-
verifiable, peer reviewed.
Reason
He goes
asked
down
the
this
question.
whole long list that he cannot substantiate
I can-
his own worldview on.
I got an argument, bro.
It's philosophical, logical.
Hold up,
arguments. They've got
Kobe.
to
Hold
discuss.
up, hold up. hold
Literally,
up, hold up,
Genesis
hold up, hold
proves
up.
your God doesn't
because
exist.
because we're going on
Empirical
we're going on
verifiable.
one at a time. I just need this. I just need this.
I-
So like
Peer reviewed.
I get what you're saying, right? But at the end of the day, it's not wanting to want something on a metaphysical level. I'm just saying that because at that point, all beliefs are wanting to want something, right? That's just how it would be in the offset. So ignoring that foolishness, you want
No, I was
to
talking.
believe.
I was talking
you
more
want-
about
you
the
believe
idea that
there
you
is-
choose
there-
to believe something.
You want to believe.
You'd have to choose
exactly.
to choose.
Exactly. You don't choose to choose. But like, you know what? I'm not even gonna get on
There,
it.
you just proved my point.
I don't care. I don't care. I didn't prove
That's
your
fine.
point because everything you're saying is my point.
No,
right?
you
Because
did.
Shut up. Shut up for a second. Shut up. Shut up. Because I was quiet for you. I was quiet for Risen. I was quiet for Kobe. I was quiet for 4chan. I was quiet for everybody. Can y'all be quiet for me? Please?
You've interrupted every one of us, so that's false.
No, I haven't.
Did every one of us, so that's false.
No, I haven't. Y'all haven't. I have not interrupted y'all.
Look, now you don't get interrupted at all. You can chat all you want.
kicked them
and no
out.
one's gonna. I kicked them out, and you can chat all you want in the comment section, and no one will interrupt.
Let's
you.
be real.
There you go.
Peterson, smart dude, drives engagement. I don't know why I kick him. I kicked him. You can have a
care about
genuine
engagement.
Listen,
I
stop
care
white
about-
knighting.
I
That's the
care about
host's rule.
I care about actual intellectual conversation. And if you're going to consistently interrupt, then how are we going to have an intelligent conversation?
Let's just move forward.
Yeah,
This is
and-
let's just go.
Exactly. So let me reestablish
engagement.
groundworks. Let's
We'd be up here with
reestablish
5
groundworks.
people and 3 people, and we'd be up here for 3 or 4 hours. I care about engagement.
I would like to
Exactly. So stop. Hold up, Kale. Because I need to establish ground rules like as the host, right? Y'all need to understand something. I am probably one of the most fair hosts. There's more atheists on this panel than there are Christians, right? I don't discriminate. I let Muslims up, Satanists up, every single person. So I need y'all to stop treating me like I'm some run-of-the-mill fucking scrub that y'all can talk down to, okay? I am the host of this platform. I am to keep order and reason within this platform. Yes, I join in and talk with y'all. But if I am muting people and I am putting people to the side and I'm saying stop, it is not because I'm trying to be a dick or I just want to express my point. It's literally because y'all are interrupting. That's what I had to do. I've had to stop y'all from interrupting Dingo. Who's an atheist, by the way. I had to stop y'all from interrupting Risen. I had to stop y'all from interrupting Justin. I had to stop y'all from interrupting each other because y'all are both doing that. White knighting, Planet Peterson, so you know, is a tactic of interruption and is a form of group gish galloping, right? That is why I'm saying it. Risen is not white knighting because he's not going on to a different point. He's staying on the point that we're at.
Sorry,
right?
Dingo.
When 2 people... Proposition, please don't. When 2 people are doing that, right? When 2 people are doing that, it causes more people to do it. It's just disruptive for the live, right? Let's not do that. I'm going to explain my point on what we was talking about. I'm going to try and stay focused. If you interrupt me, I don't care if you drive engagement or anything like that. It shows to me that you're a bad faith actor and you're doing this for views, clicks, and likes and money. So I'll just drop you and I'll move on with my life. You understand? Does that make sense? You confer?
Yes.
Awesome. That's all I needed. We're not going to talk about the conversation anymore. You're not going to talk about my behavior unless it's something new. You feel like I offended you on something new or offended somebody else on something new, right? Conversation is moot. We're going to restart and refresh with this all in mind. Everybody in favor? Hello? I'm talking to the panel.
You get to say
Yeah, aye, yes, anything.
I.
Confirmation or rejection? That's what I want to know.
To change
No,
the
we're
topic.
going back to the original topic. We're going to the
Confirmation.
number 1. Or unless you want to talk to number 2.
What?
But we're staying on to the panel.
I'm
Do
down
you
to
have
bring
any
it back.
deconstructionists?
Wait.
here?
I would love an argument for that if anyone has one.
By one, do you
I
mean the
would love
number
an
1
argument
thing
for
on
not
your
God if you
screen?
have one.
Yep.
No.
Nothing.
May I offer a proposition statement?
Sure.
I think generally speaking, this is like an ethical point of view, but I think generally speaking, everybody in the world is just trying to make sense of reality, life, things in some way. Is that generally agreeable? People are trying to make sense of the world around them.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why we host lives like this and have these types of conversations.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we can agree on that. I think that in the pursuance of this truth, whatever, like reality, you grow up You're taught certain things because you exist in a society and your community has influences on you and you're given ideas at birth. In pursuing truth, you have generally two choices, in my opinion. Maybe there's more. I don't want to get into that. But the two that I think people have is whether or not they're trying to maintain an allegiance to whatever truths they have gained from the course of their development, or whether or not they're actually interested in finding out the truth of reality, the world, society. What that means
This
is
guy is
you're
trying
either
so hard to sound photosynthesis.
trying to find the truth, even if you don't like it and it causes issues for you, or you are trying to maintain a truth because you need it to be true.
I just say that's a prejudice in individuals' beliefs. What individuals?
Yeah. So either. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Dingo.
I'm just asking Nate, is it you just saying there's like some prejudice in what individuals believe, and perhaps they'll try and manipulate like observed information to try and conform to that belief, that prejudice?
Yes.
You would love Nietzsche.
You already hold something to be true, and you are warping everything about your experience to keep that truth.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
every
So if
individual
that's
does
the
that.
case.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if that's the case, then every
doesn't-
individual chooses their beliefs. Like I said.
And I said
Because
there are people who
truth is
do
typically
that, and
cashed
then
out
there are
as what's
people who
satisfiable.
don't.
Doesn't intend.
Right.
True.
Choice.
There you go.
Truth is cashed out as what's satisfiable. So that's just going to be independent to the person. I don't
That's
know who doesn't live their life by what satisfies them. Who doesn't do that?
I don't know why we'd accept that, because it could be the case that I'm getting cheated on, and that's something that is unsatisfactory. Nevertheless, the truth.
No, so
Can I ask a
the
question
truth
quick
of
to the
the
panel?
truth of the truth of the proposition is the case, right? But whether or not you accept the proposition is a different.
I get. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Wait, who wanted to ask the question?
Which group?
I'm just called Pete.
Peterson.
I think Pete's content with.
A lot of people call me Pete. I don't care. Which group of people do you think changes their mind more often? Secular, atheist, skeptical people, or religious people?
Probably.
Well, see,
not mad at
you're making you would have to say, right, and this is where it comes on to, right? It's not groups of people like secular or Christian or anything like that, because secular is a part of this. There's secular people who won't change their mind at all. I've talked to many of them.
Wait, what
They will
would your
never
answer
change
be,
their
though?
mind, no matter how much evidence.
I know,
I think-
but don't look
But
at
who
individuals.
does
Look
this
at the
more?
The
group.
most disingenuous question.
Yeah, I'm looking at the group, and you know what?
It's
And
like
that's what
No,
I'm
It's like
it's
saying,
not.
who's most likely to own a boat? A millionaire,
It's
or
just
someone that makes
if
$20,000 a year?
If disingenuous
It
just
is
ma-
not
But you
disingenuous.
base it in your own axiom
but
that you're
Justin,
already the
if-
right
if-
person.
There we go.
I think you know
Find
the
me a
answer is
skeptical
us.
atheist. Find me a skeptical atheist, and I might side with you. But
We
I'm not
just
that one.
answer one by one.
most people here.
You're talking to
But
one.
I think I don't think it's
So are you
disingenuous to
skeptical
just
of
say there's
your
an
own
evident
skepticism?
answer to the question.
Because it seems that the only way you treat the God hypothesis as a vacuous truth, which means you don't feel that you need to go out to reality and evaluate the proposition.
Wait, Theo, can you?
So I don't think if you're going to treat God claims as vacuously truth, you can hold that as a skeptical person. So
the
most
Bible-
atheists
I don't know
have
what
not
you're
actually gone
talking
out and
about.
evaluated the God hypothesis.
Contrary to modern science.
I think they both changed their minds, but the atheists are definitely going to do it more frequently.
I change my
Sure.
beliefs all the time.
So if we're looking for a worldview that permits somebody to hopefully be guided more approximately to the truth, and we know that our senses are fallible, the skepticism route, where people change their minds more often, seems to me a conducive route to that, whereas the religious person is dogmatic in their religious beliefs.
But that's
And notice
the
I
thing.
didn't say
But that's
Christian,
the-
I just said
I
religious
know,
person.
I know you said religious person, right? But this is what I'm trying to say. Unless you're saying that I don't think that somebody can not be religious. I think everyone has a religion. It's impossible to not be religious, because the very same things that you're talking about, every single individual person does, right? So, like, for example, you could say academia is skewed you could say academia is skewed towards atheism and its presuppositions and its beliefs. So of course it's going to look like to it to atheists as if they are somehow not are maintaining this to the most amount of truth. They're changing their minds most often because that's what they're saying, right? But to everybody, every single Christian does this. Like, for example, every single person does this, whether they're believers or not. For example, inside the Christian faith, it would example as the Trinity doctrine, right? It would example as the other doctrines that evolved through the church fathers. With Islam, this comes through the hadiths, right? Everybody has an evolution of their ideas. No one's ideas are ever stagnant, right? It doesn't work like that. So I see it as a false dichotomy. Hold up. I see it as a false dichotomy because you're trying to make me choose between two choices, but both sides do the exact same amount in the exact same way. Analytical people tend to change their minds more often. It doesn't matter if they're Christian or atheist or secular or whatever, right? It's not about the groups of people. That's why I'm saying it's a fallacious question. I confer with Justin.
I just like
It's not fallacious, and you just changed my criteria in the end there.
Wait,
but
where's the empirical data?
I have a couple
What
questions for
study
you,
was done on
if
that?
that's
That
okay.
we
Let him-
look
let
up,
him-
by the way. Maybe if I read the study, I'll
Can we
appreciate it more.
let him finish real quick?
Well, I just want the study that he's bringing up. So I don't see what's wrong with that.
I didn't even hear what he said.
I wasn't bringing up a study. I asked what everybody's opinion
Oh,
was.
okay. Gotcha. Keep going.
Yeah, but you asked everyone's
Theo-
opinion on a bad question.
It wasn't a bad question, but that's just my opinion. And feel free to disagree and claim victory. I don't care. But you were talking about the academia is skewed towards secularism,
Yes.
or you said something to that effect earlier, right? Okay.
Yes.
So let's say that you're a historian, you're an academic, and you're going to study a region like the Middle East. Now, famously, the Middle East is the hub of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Which religion should this person take precedent over when trying to study this religion to try to figure out what really happened in this place? Or should they just be an unbearable skeptic and go in assuming that none of these miraculous religious claims, narratives are true? The people, like in the story, like I can believe that a person named Jesus and Muhammad and whatever existed, but we're going to discount the actual miraculous claims and study it. So
Okay.
which should they do?
You kind of cut out a couple places, so you might have to repeat the thought analogy for me. But if I gather it, if you're saying
Happy
something,
to.
yeah, please just repeat it for me. I'll just have you repeat it. It'd be better. I don't want to
Sure.
misrepresent
Sorry
you.
about that. So you're a historian, you're and you're a scholar, and you're going to study the Middle East, which is famously a mix of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Should they take precedent over one of those religions to try to understand historically what happened in that place, and that would include the miraculous claims of that one religion? Or should they be a skeptic about all of them and go into it? I would think that would be a more open-minded sense.
First of all, both sides would be open-minded. I can go in it conferring with the Christians and being open-minded and changing my mind. But the whole point is, to answer your question, I think that he should go in with what most comports with reality, right? Individually striking, it's a little bit more work to do, right? But individually seeing if their ideas are correct. So he should do an internal critique to find out if their ideas are valid, right? And the one thing that you do need to understand too, especially when we're talking about religions, some religions need other religions to be right in order for it to be right. So like, for example, Christianity, we need Judaism to be right. So Judaism and Christianity are going to back each other because we need each other to be, well, they don't need us, but we need them to be correct. Because if they weren't correct, Christianity falls apart because that's what we're basing it off of. We're saying we're the completion of their religion, right? So you would have to have accurate reporters and take data as it is. But this is what I'm trying to say. It's not the skepticism that's like tied to a secular person, right? It's just somebody who is skeptic. You being secular doesn't make you more skeptical. And you're not more likely to be more skeptical because you're a secular. I'm a highly skeptical person. That's why I host these panels and debate y'all, because I don't believe that you lack belief. I don't believe that you chose your belief, that you don't choose your beliefs. I am skeptical of the things you're telling me. But you just think because I'm religious that I somehow am dogmatic. It's not dogma. It's what you're claiming it to be. That's what I'm like calling out here, man. So that's what I'm saying. It's a bad question. That's what I'll end off with. That it's a bad question on the opposite.
Jeez.
I think we disagree on too many definitions of words for this to be conducive to a debate.
It's not that we disagree on definitions of words. I go by other people's definitions usually. Except for the only thing I don't is religion, because I'm trying to establish a more grounded definition of religion that actually accurately describes every single religion. What I said about religion accurately describes every single religion. It just so happens to also include atheism for whatever reason, right? It does pop up as being a religion under that definition. And people don't like that because they don't want to be associated with dogmas, with biases, with religion, the big bad that's just believing things with no evidence, right? Atheists want, and I'm not saying this to be a dick, but like atheists in publicity, they want to be known as the rational, reasonable people, as if they have the coinage on knowledge, or if they have the coinage on logic and reason. Y'all are not the only ones with these things, dog, and you're not more likely to have them because you're an atheist.
Dogma.
That's like saying I'm likely to be a better athlete because I'm black.
And the dogma is that you're putting atheists in a religious category when the definition of atheism is literally to lack belief in certain religion. You can lack belief. It is like for example, in Zoroastrianism, it's not a requirement to believe in any of the gods in order to be a Zoroastrian. It is also not a requirement to believe in any of the gods to be a Hindu. It's not a requirement to believe in any of the gods to be a Buddhist. But yet all three of these religions have gods, right? And you can still be all three of these religions. So I'm not understanding here, right? You're just making a different claim than I am.
Have we defined a religion so far? Did I miss it? Did we define religion?
Did. We did at the very
There's
start.
no Buddhist god, by the way.
Yes, there is.
Or atheist, but it's different.
No.
But it's atheist.
No, there is
Not
no
how
Buddhist
Westerners practice it, but Eastern, yes, it's a god model. It's a deistic model.
Wait, can we define religion?
Not even just a deistic model. It's like they have active gods because the Buddha acknowledged that there were gods. He just said that they weren't the path to enlightenment. You don't need to follow them to get to enlightenment. You can do it on your own. But he acknowledged that there were gods.
Can we define religion? Like some category that's going to accommodate
A system of beliefs and practices that relate to humanity, to spirituality.
He was asking me because he wants to know what I'm using to that includes atheists. So what I'm saying is a religion would be a grouping of three claims bound together through its axiological nature. So its foundational nature. That would be it has a claim of how we
axiological means value.
My bad. Let me just say
I've made the same mistake many
I
times. Axiomatic and axiological, I made the same mistake.
Yeah, you said axiological.
There we go. Yeah, axiomatic. It's wrapped up in an axiomatic framework, right? So it would be claims on how we know things, claims of what we are, and it would be claims on the metaphysical wrapped up in a axiomatic framework. So it has to be foundational to who you are or to your beliefs as a whole, right? And when you say this, it can only exist in this proposition. Either God does exist or he does not exist, irregardless of how you feel about that proposition. That is a true dichotomy. That's a real dichotomy. Either he does exist or does not. And you're going to fall on one of those two ends. So that's the foundation right there, the accepting the axiom of God. From there, how do you know things?
The axiom is the
people would say things through science and such.
The axiom is just having a propositional attitude. That's it.
Without
but
it needing to be
you don't need to get into like parameters, etc. But like I'm just saying, if your definition for religion is that individuals have a propositional attitude towards God, anyone that has an attitude towards the proposition God exists is part of religion. If lack of a better term.
Yes, they're all expressing.
If that's your definition of religion, no atheist disagrees. We have a propositional attitude, but that's just not how we define. Like that's not how I define religion.
I know, because this is what I'm trying to say, right? There's a colloquial definitions that we do for these debates and conversations and da-da-da-da, and then we have definitions that we do for science. And then this is why I try to say, yeah, I know I may not be the most articulate person in the world, right? I'm sorry for that. I got that move to
Theo, you
speak. It is what
articulated
it
it
is.
correctly, especially when you say this right here. If
This-
it walks
Yeah.
like a duck,
But-
if it talks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's
yeah,
a duck, brother.
but the issue is that those two parameters there of walking, looking,
That
and
muff,
quacking
that
like
duck.
a duck. That's gonna be like worship and belief in some supernatural power.
But
Well,
this
okay,
is what,
if it's not
this
a
is what I'm
duck-
trying to say. In a scientific sense, though, right?
Congruent.
Because I'm trying to say, hold up, I'm sorry. But because we have scientific definitions of things, right? Like things are inherent. We have a colloquial definition like theory. People take theory colloquially to be a hypothesis. Oh, that's just your guess, right? That's just your theory, right? But scientifically, it's an explanation of a body of facts, right? That's what they use that definition for. I'm trying to propose an advancement in sociology. We don't have a sociological definition of religion that fits all of the religions that we see, right? So it would be easier to have some type of criterion to base it. I'm putting forward a criterion. You would have to tell me what is wrong with this criterion and why atheism applying to it suddenly makes it bad. That just means that atheism is now something we didn't think it was before.
Literally, if you just define the criterion as a propositional attitude towards the claim or the proposition God exists, atheism would be a religion. If that's what you define religion, not atheism.
But
that's
it's
what you define
not.
religion as.
That's not what I'm saying the criterion is. The criterion is it's wrapped up in the axiomatic nature. That's what the Romans were trying to get at when they said religio was to tie or to bind.
Atheists
right?
don't agree on axioms. I can promise you can find
Yeah.
a difference between me and Planet Peterson, me and 4chan and atheism, and me and Kofi, and me and Kale. You'll find axioms we disagree on. So I don't want means to have some agreed upon axiomatic nature.
But y'all all agree on the rejection of the God axiom.
That's
what
the
we're
problem.
talking
Yeah,
about.
that's not an axiom. That's not. That's
And
a
then on
position,
top of
and
that,
we just
right,
have
what
a negative
every
attitude.
religion,
Wait,
and then
can
on
you-
top of that, right, that's one criterion, and then there's three other criterions, right? Three others. Because it's wrapped in an axiomatic framework, right? The axiom is the framework upon which the other three existed. This would be the ontological claim, what we are and what exists, what is, right? The metaphysical claim about the things that we can't see and interact, I guess, quote unquote, interact with. And then a claim on how we know about both of these things, right? Which atheists do have. Y'all all have it, right? Like we went through us talking to y'all literally proves my point because y'all have shared and conferred on beliefs. Yeah, y'all have differed on some. Me and Justin differ on some beliefs, but we're both Christians. Me and Risen differ on some beliefs, but we're both Christians. Y'all differ on some beliefs, but y'all are all atheists and
To
y'all have a
clarify,
framework.
if you try to categorize all beliefs into some like some framework, and the parameters of it are conducive of beliefs themselves, then you're gonna just dilute the entire idea of what that category entails, because you're gonna have no distinction between what is a belief and what is not a belief. So evidently, under your framework, atheists are gonna hold to some religious values. But the question then entails, what is the distinction between an atheist and a theist that is conducive of this category? Because this category you're giving me, that you've given me, just says that everyone that has these propositions, which is everyone, by the way, irrespective of what they have, they're going to have some attitudes between those three parameters you gave me.
Right.
All you've done is just said there is no distinction between that and someone that doesn't believe. Because someone that doesn't
Right.
believe
So-
doesn't exist.
You're getting it.
So what does
Yeah,
that mean?
so, like,
If your
yeah,
definition
you
is that
have a
everyone
religion.
believes in something, therefore they're religious, then that is just trivial and it gets me nowhere.
that's not. It's not specifically
truth
that.
is
It's that
supernatural.
we have.
I
a
see another
worldview.
problem in
We have
this,
an
but I'll wait
actual
a little
worldview, a
bit.
way of explaining creation. That's not just a belief like, oh, there's a remote on my table. No, that remote on your table doesn't explain the world around you or creation, right? So we're not just saying what someone believes. Everyone has a belief. We're saying that everybody has a definition of a God, and everybody adheres to a certain way of living that either respects that or rejects that.
Does that entail everyone's religious?
Yes.
Okay, so
They're
how do
trying
you
to say that
determine if
scientism is a religion, by the way.
But
That's what they're going after.
how do you even
Because you
discern
want-
what
No,
religion
I'm
is at
not.
that point? If everyone's
give-
religious,
you're
if
giving
ev-
because you're giving it to science. Science is your God. Science just miraculously, and nature
I
just
told you.
miraculously
I can prove that to you.
creates.
Oh,
not a
creates
Okay,
miracle.
so this is the
Well,
fundamental
what-
argument.
the
then.
definition
have-
is
and
the
you
definition is
have
obviously
no
conducive of
evidence.
just like a
Even once you
universal
consult.
definition. Everyone is complicit to this definition. Everyone has some fucking belief. It just
Okay,
seems
give me an atheist who
redundant.
doesn't think that who doesn't believe in its infinite regress.
me. I'm an infinitist.
Okay, so how did the universe begin? Go ahead.
I believe in the Liebig-ON model. I promise you, we
You said
do not want to get into
what?
that. The
But this
Liebig-ON
is
model. I promise you, you do
But-
not want to get into
I
this.
promise you probably can't even explain that.
but this is what I'm
There
trying to
is
say, though,
higher
right?
order derivatives
So,
that
like,
are functions
I
of
can't.
Apparently.
Hold
what a
up.
cunt.
Let's. My bad.
Why always
My
start
fault.
with
Let's
that?
refocus.
Let's go.
I know. You did, Risen. You the chef for real. You be cooking.
No,
You be cooking.
I love Risen, but I promise you, in the last 30 minutes, he has not said anything useful.
Okay,
Well,
okay,
that's-
listen.
and that's why
But, like,
you're
it's
always,
it's because you're ignoring the other criterion, right? It's not just one criterion. It's not just having this belief. If you wanted to reductio to absurdity, yeah, sure, that's what I'm saying, right? Everybody has a belief, therefore everybody has a religion, sure, right? But it's not just that, because it distinguishes itself from like a political ideology. A political ideology is also a belief, but a political ideology is not a religion because
So it's
it does not
conjunctive.
answer to what is. Yeah, it doesn't answer to what is, and it doesn't tell you how you know things, right? But it is an ideology and a philosophy you can have, right? What I'm saying is that religion is that foundational philosophy that makes everything else of you, and then we add all of this other stuff up, then you get your politics and everything else, right? But your religion is how you know things, how you know what you're saying things are, and the metaphysical
Way of
things,
living.
like if love exists and morals and stuff like that.
Well,
Every group of people,
Why don't you
every person has this. That's what I'm
Peterson
saying.
has
It's
something
just
to say.
every person has it.
Peterson has
Yeah,
something
but
to say in there. He found an
Okay.
issue in there. I'll let him go.
Yeah.
I still want him to explain his worldview because we have.
Peterson, you said you found an issue because I don't know what I presented. What was it you were saying?
Yeah, Oh no, not with what you presented, but with the way host is describing that if you hold these three things, you're a member of a religion. So, like host, are you a young Earth creationist, for
No.
example? No? Okay. Are you like a presuppositionalist?
Everyone is a presuppositionalist.
Yeah, who's
That too.
not a pre?
I hate that comment.
Who
Axioms.
isn't?
Karen
who
Peterson,
isn't a
they're just
presupp-
trying to accommodate axioms to presuppositions. Just Karen.
I know. So the problem I have with this is there are going to be Christians
just
that
gonna glaze
have
over that.
a different worldview than some. Can you please not
Just
interrupt
glaze
me?
over
Also,
that.
I'm
Okay,
talking to the
that's
host. There are going to be Christians who are young Earth creationists, who are presuppositionalists, and then there are going to be Christians who aren't. There are going to be Christians who think the tag argument is the ultimate explanation for certain things. There are going to be Christians who aren't. So, by the way you're defining this, it sounds like these Christians aren't part of
what
the same
human
religion
is a
because they have different. You take those three fundamentals or foundationals or whatever, and they're going to have different attitudes about it, which means they can't all be Christians. Which means a Christian is only whatever you
we
are.
have
And
an
see,
objective
that's what- and
standard
that's-
of what a Christian is.
Yeah, and see that's what I'm talking about, right? Is because we do, right? And then Christian is a specific ideology within the whole totality of this category called religion, right? Yeah, and I gave that exact example, the one that you used, Peterson. That exact example that you used, I said exactly that to support my argument. I'm like Justin. Justin and I have things that we disagree with. Risen and I have things that we disagree with, but we're all still Christians. Just like atheists still have things that they disagree with, but they're all still atheists, right? It doesn't exclude that they have just because they have, right? It's not only the specifics, right? Because we're talking about a general category, right? Risen is a different type of Christian
Okay,
than
here's-
I
It
am.
seems like a red herring.
Justin
I
is a
don't
different
see
kind
how.
of, yeah.
I don't. It
This-
seems like a,
yeah, but
it seems like a red.
Can I tell
herring.
you? Can I restate the problem I have with this?
Okay, go ahead.
Why is it a problem at all? This is like a red herring.
If
Non
a
sequitur.
it's not. If a religion is a belief that takes a specific position on those three foundational things, then if two people do not have the same three foundational things, they're not part of the same religion. Christians, if a religion is a belief that takes a specific position on those three foundational things, then if two people do not have the same three foundational things, they're not part of the same religion. Christians, if a religion is a belief that takes a specific position on those three foundational things, they're not part of the same religion. have different takes on those three things, so they're not
they
all
don't.
Christians by this definition.
But that's the thing. No, they don't, right? So all Christians agree that God exists. We all accept.
So what are your specific positions on the three, so we can be more clear?
Right, I'll show you. All Christians. There's not going to be a single Christian, right, that is going to say God does not exist. All Christians say that God exists, right? So that is the axiom. They all accept the God axiom. Now, their epistemology, how do they know things? Divine revelation. All Christians are going to say they know things because God revealed it, right? Or God showed it, God demonstrated it.
I've met several that don't.
Really? So God didn't create that information for them. So how would they know that God existed? Right? Exactly.
They don't take that universal stance.
So we would need to bring them in instead of the hearsay, and we would need to see where they gather that, because what we have is an objective stance.
What's the third thing?
Why are you always trying to glaze over when I penetrate your impenetrable shield? So let me just get
Jesus
by that.
Christ,
dude,
do not
glaze over that.
Talking about penetrating and glazing me. I do not consent.
By this, okay? And look, that's your mindset, man. That's all up to you.
Give me a second.
You're the one that said it.
Hold up, Peterson.
We can tell what your internet history has in it. So anyway,
give me a second. Hold up. Let me say this. Let me just get out the three. Let me just get out this, right? Hold up. Stop. I don't know.
Yeah, we're missing the third.
Let me get out the three. No, because we only got to two so far. Let me get out the other two, right? Risen, you can go, and then Peterson, you can give your rebuttal. No, it is, because we got to the God axiom, right? That's the axiomatic. We got to your epistemology.
If you got to 2 out of 3 and you have 2 to go, that's a problem in math.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my goodness, it's not 3. It's 2 out of 4, right? Because it's all four of the categories. That's what I'm saying. All 4 of the criteria. So, what is we saying? Okay. Now it's ontological, right? Like, how do they have claims about what is, right? They claim the supernatural exists. They claim that Jesus is God, right? That is a physical claim about the world and what is and is not, right? And then on the last bit of it, metaphysical claims. Well, we claim things such as logic is grounded in God, right? It's rooted in this in the God claim. That's how we all things. Now we might have different arguments and supportings of these things, but at the end of the day, this is what we are affirming.
If
right?
atheists don't
it's our religion
logic,
reduced down to basics.
Yeah, then those are three. Then those are different religions.
It wouldn't be different religions. No, because it's about the general grouping, right? It's not about the specifics. The specifics would make it a denomination, right? But that's what I'm trying to say. There is.
But most of them would agree with you on most things there. That you have all 4 categories. They're religious.
Yes.
And then you'll have some like you would have some Unitarian Christian that
But that would make them
have some like Unitarian Christian that accommodates all 4 but disagrees with your categories.
But no Muslim is going to say that they know things. No Muslim is going to say claims like Christ is God, right? So this is what I'm trying to say.
So the category,
listen,
you didn't claim that either.
Religion is I claim Christ is God.
So
ultimately, I'm not
right
religious.
I know.
I'm so
listen.
right now.
It's not that. It's not that, right? It's not that we're claiming that religion is an overarching category, right? You can have a Republican, but you can have a Republican who's also a conservative. Then you could go a Republican who's also a conservative, who's also I don't know. I don't know. He's a conservative Republican who's also a communist. I don't know how that works, but you get more and more specific down the line. This is what I'm trying to say. So you have a religion, which is the general category. It's the set that contains the other sets, right? And then you go down, and then Christianity would be one set that contains other sets inside of it, right? Which would be what we call denominations. And those denominations have sects, right? This is a categorization of order. The same thing is happening with atheists, is just that we have this one category. It could be a set onto its own right now. But when you start getting into it, I'm pretty sure there's other denominations and sects of atheism, right? And that's all you're just saying. All I'm hearing is that you guys are special pleading for atheism not to be included into this category.
Can I say something real quick? Because prior, I think in the conversation or the dialectic, I think you gave 3 categories, and having some sort of stance within those 3 categories makes you have a religion.
It's 4 now, apparently.
Yeah. I'm just gonna stick with 4.
Yeah, I changed it to 4, and I missed what the 4th
God
was.
axiom, but I'm gonna disregard that one. So it was the ontic, the metaphysical, and the epistemological.
I said it was 4 criteria. I said it was 4 criteria from the very beginning.
But hold on, okay,
right?
great.
It is 4 criteria until.
No, you said 3.
I love you,
not.
brother, but it was definitely.
I'm willing to
Hold
go.
on. No, stop. I did not. You know how I know? No,
Yes, you
I did not. No, I did not. You know why I know I did not?
Yes, you
I
did.
did not. It would be claims on how we know things, claims of what we are, and it would be claims on the metaphysical wrapped up in a axiomatic framework. So it has to be foundational to who you are or to your beliefs as a whole. On the rejection of the God axiom, that's what
the
we're
problem.
talking
Yeah,
about.
that's not an axiom, that's not.
And then on top of that,
we just
right,
have a negative attitude.
And then on top of that, right, that's one criterion, and then there's 3 other criterions, right? 3 others. Because it's wrapped in an axiomatic framework, right? The axiom is the framework upon which the other 3 existed. This would be the ontological claim, what we are and what exists, what is, right? The metaphysical claim about the things that we can't see and interact, quote unquote, interact with. And then a claim on how we know about both of these things.
What are your
I'll show
specific
you.
positions on
I'll
the
show you.
3 so we can be more
show you.
clear?
Right, I'll show you. All Christians, there's not going to be a single Christian, right, that is going to say God does not exist. All Christians say that God exists, right? So that is the axiom. They all accept the God axiom. Now, their epistemology, how do they know things?
Okay.
Divine revelation. All Christians are going to say they know things because God revealed it, right? Or God showed it, God demonstrated it.
I've met several that
Really?
don't.
Let me get out the 3, no, because we only got to 2 so far. Let me get out the other 2, right? No, I did not. Understand that I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb.
No one's saying
made
you are.
this argument. Stop.
Nobody said you were.
I know. I'm not saying that, right? And then you don't have to say it directly to say something. You can insinuate things. Anywho, I'm not dumb. I am not crazy. I am not misremembering anything, right? I have said this argument multiple times, and I have refined it through debate.
Right. Risen, would you say that he said 4 to begin with?
Stop. No, I did not. Stop. You're confusing me. You're confusing me. If y'all interrupt me one more time, look, Dingo, I love y'all. But if y'all interrupt me one more time to confuse my words and make me have a Freudian slip, I'm going to just kick you so I can get out what I'm going to say. Right? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to play this game. So like I said, I have said this argument hundreds to possibly even thousands of times. I know what I was saying. I have told you when I was arguing with you that there was always 4 criteria because I was saying you were focusing on one criteria and trying to say that that's my whole argument. And all Peterson did was flip the reverse and focus on the 3 criteria and ignored the 1 and tried to say that that's my whole argument. From the very beginning, I was always talking about 4. But as I've said to you guys before that y'all not factoring in, I use y'all definitions of words. Right? So when he said criteria, I knew that he was talking about the other 3 things I was not talking about. I didn't get a chance to because I was talking to you about it. So he had a different point. I already saw this. I'm pointing this out. I've always said 4. And when y'all questioned me on it, I corrected it every single time. And I said, I'm talking about 4 criteria. And you said, if you're talking about 2 if you're saying that you have 2 things left in 3, then that doesn't make any sense. And I said, no, it was always 4. I said this multiple times. I'm not going to use your fancy little atheist mind games on me and think I'm going to question my reality. You're not going to gaslight me. I refuse to be manipulative. Refuse. Anywho,
look, I was
Peterson, like I said, go ahead, Kobe.
I just wanted to finish my point. I'll be very succinct and quick here. So look, what I was trying to say is when you put out those 4 categories, like to be a religion means to have some sort of stance given these 4 categories, the God axiom, metaphysics, ontics, and epistemology. So that's the overall thing. So I think when we're talking about a specific type of religion, given Christianity, right, I think those 4 foundational things would have to be the same. And given I've had many Christians construe to me on the epistemology, that they can just come through the natural world, not special revelation. So that would be
okay. Yes, and you got to also understand, right? We're talking about two belief systems interacting with each other. Are they saying this because they genuinely believe that they cannot come to this through God? Or are they saying this because they're talking to an atheist who is saying that they don't believe in God because they only believe in the natural world, and they're trying to demonstrate to you how they can come to the same truth through the natural world, right? That's not telling me what they believe. This is why Risen, rightly so, told y'all to stop doing what the hearsay and talk about what y'all believe, because we're talking about something that can be applied on a third party. If I was watching that, right, I would be able to explain it to you exactly, but I haven't seen it, right?
Well,
I'm not seeing their arguments. I'm explaining to you
I
a
will.
process that you're supposed to take and then go see what I'm saying, right? Go taste and see, like Jesus tells me. Go taste
All
and
I'm
see.
saying is operating within the given like construal of religion. I'm saying I see some error given the conversations I've had. Right. I'm saying what you've said to be a religion. Right. I'm taking it to be a part of the same religion means you are going to have the same stances on these foundational, integral things. Right. But I've had people who would say they're Christian. Now, what that means, given this semantic usage of religion, means that they must have the same four foundations. But one of those, given epistemology, is they're not having the same one. They don't use special revelation. And I'm not saying they're using that because they're talking to an atheist. No, this is what they believe.
How do you know that they're not using that because they're talking
Because
to an
I'm
atheist? This
asking
is
them
what I'm
about
trying.
their view. I'm not asking them, how would you try to
Oh
get
my
an
God.
atheist to understand the view? I'm asking you, what do you believe? And they say, I would come to know of God given reason through the natural world, not special revelation. Boom. Like, that's going to be
Okay.
some issue.
Okay. Now listen.
I would just go to the
They,
very first one.
I could also say, quite frankly, they're saying the natural world is the special revelation, because they would not have the ability to have this knowledge without God. If I was there and I had and I was able to question them according to my method, you would see exactly how they believe the exact same things as other Christians, right? They're just expressing it differently. What you're seeing is a difference in expression, not a difference in belief, because at the end of the day, God is their foundation. And if they are a Christian and using the Bible, right, which is really where we have falsification criterion for somebody being a Christian. You can't just claim it and then you are. We can actually see it. And if they're saying something that's unscriptural or undoctrinal, we have all rights to kick them out of the group called Christian, because they're not, right? This is how I know what a Christian is versus what an atheist is.
There you go. That's what I said earlier.
But no, you're saying that they're different. But
I said earlier, Christians don't believe all these things, therefore they're not Christians, and then you just agreed.
You did not.
That you said we kick them out and we call them
not.
not Christians.
No, you did
That's
not.
what you did.
It's
Yes, I did
different.
do that. And then you
It's
did
different.
that.
No, we did not do the same thing.
It's not.
We did not do the same thing.
Absolutely.
The symmetry.
And you did say
the symmetry
three.
breaker. I did not. I did not say three in the context that you're saying.
You
I didn't
did.
say three in the context.
This will go on YouTube
Good.
tomorrow
I
and you
will.
can see
I'll
it.
look at it on YouTube tomorrow. Awesome. So, anyways, like I was saying, the falsification criterion is not a falsification criterion, as in to say, because I believe Jesus is 3 in 1, and somebody believes that Jesus is only is the God the Father too, that they both can't be Christian. It's things saying like Jesus is Satan's brother, right? Like things that are blatantly false, not how we express the fact that there's God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. No, that's what I'm trying to say. There's a symmetry breaker.
Can I ask you a
between the
quick
two.
question?
Go ahead.
Do you think the filioque is true?
Say yes. Catholicism is based.
Host, do you think the filioque is true?
I don't know that word. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Do you think that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son, or just the Father?
That's exactly what I was talking. That sounds like exactly what I was talking about between what I was saying with the Trinity view and other doctrinal views, right? The point is that none of those views.
I'm just looking for a yes or no.
It doesn't
dude.
matter because it's
not that deep.
It's not. I'm not going to give
Yes,
you a
it
yes
does.
or no because your question is not relevant to what I was saying. If anything, it was demonstrating what I'm talking about. All of those, right? Whether I take
What blatant
whether
cowardice?
I take to the filioque or not, right? Neither one of those views are contradictory to Scripture. If somebody is saying something contradictory to scripture, such as you can go around enslaving people when God said not to do that. That is what would get them kicked out as a
No,
Christian.
he did not ever say that. In fact, he gave instructions on who you're allowed to enslave.
So I'm gonna do the same thing too.
He gives instructions for slavery and how to trick people to become your slaves and how to make their children your property for
We're gonna
life.
do that, right? Stop going on.
Now you're just
I'm
lying.
Not lying. No, I'm not. We're not going to do that.
You should read the
We're not going
Bible.
to do that. We're not going to get into.
Read the
We're not going
Bible.
to get into another discussion. You already don't understand the first things that I'm saying. Let's not get into.
No, I'm
something
done
else.
talking to you.
Stick with what I'm saying, because if this is going on YouTube,
We're not, 'cause you're
I'm gonna
too
make
dishonest.
I'm going to make sure. Put this part in too. Put this part in, because if this is not on YouTube, I'm going to put it on YouTube, right? And I'm going to show that you're going to lie.
Still recording, sweetie.
I'm going to show that you're going to lie to all of your peoples. So
What did I lie about?
stop. You are not talking on it.
What was the lie I told?
You are not talking on the top.
Stop! What was the lie I told?
Exactly.
What lie did I tell?
Please, I want to see them. I want to see it on YouTube.
Oh, the
I want to see
gaslighting.
it on YouTube. I want to see you act like this on YouTube.
What lie
Oh my
did I
goodness,
tell?
I want to see it. This is going to be so funny, and I know you're not going to do it.
What lie did
Let
I
me
tell?
get to it. Stop saying that and let me get to it. Shut up. Thank you. Beautiful. Silence. Stay on mute, by the way.
Literally still
Stay on
waiting.
mute, by the way. Stay on mute.
Still
All right.
waiting.
You can wait.
You're gonna do
Stay on mute, by
anything.
the
Still
way.
waiting.
Stay on mute. All right. You can wait in the comments. I'll bring you back up when I'm done talking. You can wait in the comments. I'll bring you back up when I'm done talking. So, like I was saying, right? Not El host. I keep getting interrupted. So, the lie is in your presentation. Not all lies are directly verbatim stated. For example, a CIA agent can have a lie about being named Martha and tell you all the truths about Martha, right? And that's true. She actually does work at the paper mill. She actually does do all of this because all of the paper says that. But that person is not Martha. Right? That's what we call a performative contradiction. It's something shown in the behavior, right? You're talking about something irrelevant, saying as if it's on the same topic. Slavery and the Bible has nothing to do with what the point of what I was trying to get at. It is a non sequitur, right? It is lying about my position. It is lying about my presentation, and it's lying about what it says in the Bible because you don't understand it in the offset. I really waiting until I finish.
So to be clear, I never told a lie by your own admission.
You did.
You and your zesty lies, host. That's not very Christian of you.
What's not very Christian of me?
For you to say that I lied and then not be able to back up your claim, meaning you lied.
No, that doesn't.
You just moved the goalpost and redefined
define
it. Well, you lied in the way you did your presentation.
You lied in how your action. Yes, it's called a lie in behavior, right? Because language is not just communication. Is not just about the words you say. It's about the tonality. It's about the pace. It's about the even the articulation, the words you choose, right? And also the main thing about it is behavior, the way you act. All of those things can be telling the truth, right? Or something you actually think is true, and you lie in one of those, the whole thing is a lie. Right? It's a very highly advanced manipulation tactic that's shown in people who tend to do networking and interconnectivity. So you would see it in the highly advanced fields, or you would see it on places like YouTube and TikTok. Like I'm not new to this.
Did God say stick an awl through the ear of your slave and they'll become your slave for life?
Irrelevant. Yes, demon. Speak, demon. Showed you. You
Holy
can't keep
fucking
on track.
shit.
Wow.
Maybe
Back
you
to
should read the
conversation.
Bible, like,
But we
for
wasn't
once in
talking
your
about
life.
that. I read the Bible. We wasn't talking about that. Speak, demon. Look at he laughs.
God, there's no slavery in the Bible. God doesn't say you can do slavery. Here's the way God instructed how to make a slave out of somebody for the rest of their life. That's irrelevant.
Let me ask you
about
something.
that.
Let me ask you something.
No, hold on, Theo.
This fucking Carl Anthony
Theo,
Towns
the
motherfucker
ironic-
and his
the
biblical
irony of that
lies.
is
Oh man,
in
this
that
is
exact
hilarious.
passage
Goodbye.
is somebody who is volunteering themselves into indentured servitude. So that's ironic.
No, it
that
isn't.
someone is volunteering themselves to be an indentured servant.
It also says you
But
can
you're-
make
but you-
children
wait,
of
I
inherited
thought you were-
property slaves for life.
You were just laughing. You were just
Children of slaves
stay on
don't
that point.
consent
You were
to
just
become
laughing and
slaves.
hackling, and now you're moving on to the next thing. Now, if a child is not entailed in
God
that,
says you can
same
make
agreement,
children slaves
what should
for
that
life. Children don't
This guy's
consent to
manifesting really
being
bad.
children don't consent
So
to
if
being
a child
slaves.
is not under that same umbrella, then that if a child is not under that same umbrella, then that child is going to be what, outside of the camp just whole life.
He is risen just advocated for child slavery, everybody. What else are they gonna do? You're an actual piece of shit. Go fuck yourself.